Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Britain F1. If you are new here and you like the look of this channel, then please hit the subscribe button down below, and if you do like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. So once again, we were back racing this weekend after our week's break, and I don't know about you, but it felt really weird not having a race weekend last weekend. I think we've been greeted with so many races already this year that having a week's break felt really weird, and I didn't really know what to do with my weekend. But we were back racing this weekend, back in Spa, one of my favourite tracks, and it kind of was a bit of a disappointment. I was a bit let down with the race. It did throw up a few exciting bits, but once again it was just dominated by the typical three: Lewis, Bottas and Max. So once again, of course, we were greeted with a very dominant Mercedes. I'm going to talk about Bottas because I'm actually really annoyed at Bottas. In my previous video, I did a video about Bottas trying being more like Nico Rosberg, and I really wanted him to do that this weekend. I thought this is a great weekend to come back after the week's break and really challenge Lewis. That just did not happen. It was, to be fair, the complete opposite. He was half a second slower in qualifying than Lewis Hamilton, and after qualifying he said he wasn't bothered about being half a second slower. I'm sorry, you should be. Like, half a second in qualifying from pole to second is massive, and you're saying you're not worried is quite bad. So I really, you know, everyone knows Lewis is my guy, I want him to win, but I really wanted Valtteri to take the fight to Lewis, and he just couldn't catch him once again. He was again 5 seconds slower than Lewis. Lewis was out there by himself. Max was catching Valtteri more than Bottas was catching Lewis, which is so shocking. For how quick that Mercedes is, Valtteri should be breathing down the neck of Lewis, and he's not. And I'm just really let down. I'm let down by that, because this should be the year Valtteri really takes it to Lewis, and he hasn't. Valtteri was obviously going through some stuff in his personal life last year, so that was completely understandable for why he might not have challenged for the title. But you know, this year he should have really come in, all guns blazing, really challenging Lewis, but that's just not happening. For me personally, Lewis's main competition now is Max in a Red Bull, which is crazy to think, like how dominant that Mercedes is. But yeah, I was just really let down from Valtteri this whole weekend, to be honest. Haven't been impressed with him. Even Martin Brundle was at the beginning of the race saying, come on Valtteri, come and take the challenge to Lewis, push him. But he wasn't, and it's just such a letdown, because, you know, it's just another championship slipping away to Lewis. And you know, I'm now starting to think, like, Valtteri signed up until next year. That's another, maybe I'm a bit bad in saying this, is that another championship for Lewis even next year? Like, no one can catch Lewis, and you know, the only person who can would be the person in the same car, and it's just not happening. If Max was in that Mercedes, oh my god, this would be a whole different story. And even at the start, Valtteri was getting close to Lewis, and they kind of said, stay back, and he was like, oh, we didn't talk about this. Disobey team orders, disobey them, just do something different to take that fight to Lewis, make it exciting. But he didn't. Once again, he listened to team orders, he listened to what the team wanted, and you know, it's all well and good being like that, you know, you have to be like that sometimes, but you know, if you're going to win a championship, you have to take those chances, and I think that was a major one Valtteri has missed out. He's missed out again on points, but not massively, but you know, he could have really challenged for that win today, and he didn't, and it's just a bit of another letdown, to be honest with you. Now, next up, I want to talk about Renault. They had a amazing weekend and kind of surprising. They came into Friday looking really strong, which, you know, I kind of thought, you know, it's just a Friday. You know, you always get that one team, one guy who's surprisingly up there, and you just kind of think, oh, it's just Friday. But that kind of transferred into Saturday. So when they came to qualifying, Daniel Ricciardo actually put it in P4, which was so good to see. I'm so happy we saw him back at the top, back fighting at the top of the grid, because, you know, he just deserves to be there. He's one of the greatest drivers on that grid. So to see him battling in midfield for the last few years has kind of been heartbreaking for me. So to see him back up at the top this weekend was really great, and, you know, we saw that in him. I felt like the old Daniel was really coming through. He was really happy, and it was just really good to see. So he pretty much maintained P4 for most of the race. He started off well off the line. He was quite close to Max, but, you know, during the race it kind of extended that lead, and he just couldn't really catch Max in P3. And then I think the safety car kind of played an issue. He kind of got stuck behind some traffic on the safety car restart, so wasn't actually able to fight Max on the restart, and I think that was a kind of a bit of a letdown. I think it would have been really great to see him up there fighting with Max, because I think he could have probably challenged for that position. So there, that was a kind of letdown of the race, to be honest. He kind of just maintained that P4, but was suddenly really closing in on Max near the last few end of the laps. From about lap 40 to about 44 he was closing in on Max, because the top three tyres were going off the grid. So I think if the race was a bit longer, he would have definitely caught Max, which would have been really exciting to see, but again it just didn't happen. And once again, from the top four were just in the same position the whole race, so it was a bit of a letdown, to be honest, that we didn't get that fight at the top. But, you know, hats off to Renault. They did an amazing weekend, and Daniel also got a point for the fastest lap, so he picked up some really good points. And then also Esteban Ocon had a great race as well. He, although had to fight a bit in the midfield, but he actually got past Alex Albon on the last lap, I believe, second to last lap, to take P5. So that was really good for them, and I hope that can play into their hands when they come to Monza. Now, Ferrari. Guys, I can't deal with Ferrari. What is going on? This weekend has just been a shocking weekend for them. Oh, it's kind of painful to talk about. Like, the Friday practice, they were so slow. They were like at the back of the grid, and to be fair, they were back of the grid the whole bloody weekend. But I think everyone on Friday was so shocked with how slow they were. We kind of thought going into the weekend it wouldn't be a strong weekend for them, but we thought they would be around midfield. But to be at the back with the Williams and the Haas was shocking. And, you know, Belgium is usually a Grand Prix that is really good for the Ferrari. They've won 2 years in a row there, and they've always looked so strong there. So to see them go from a massive win last year with Charles Leclerc to finish in P13 and P14 this week is shocking. And, you know, it's not going to get any better for them in the lead up of the next few races. All the new races coming up are very reliant on straight line speed, so, you know, it's not going to get better for them. They were fast in the corners, but just got eaten alive in the straight line speed by everyone pretty much, and it was so shocking to see. And it's actually quite upsetting. Like, I put a tweet out saying, like, personally I'm not a Ferrari fan, like I've never have been, but for me to see a massive team like Ferrari struggling so bad it's not nice even for a fan of the sport to see, because that shouldn't be happening to a team like Ferrari. And you know, I've obviously done a lot of videos on my views of what is going on at Ferrari, and you know, it's shocking. And again, we were greeted with the engineers, strategists trying to basically ask the drivers for their advice during the race, which we saw in Catalonia, in Barcelona. Vettel was basically being his own strategist, and again that was happening this weekend. Like, they were doing it with Charles as well, and you could just tell they were just getting so frustrated, and I don't blame them, because you know, Ferrari are a top-notch team. If you haven't got the strategists who can think of a plan to help your drivers, get rid. Your drivers should not be the strategists. They're there to drive, to do the job. You need a team around you who can be there when you're at your lowest point to try and build on something, and that is just not there with Ferrari at the minute. And you know, something needs to change. My driver of the day was actually Pierre Gasly. He also got voted driver of the day by the fans as well. He had an outstanding race. You know, to be honest, Pierre Gasly has been my driver of the season. He has had an amazing season so far. I don't know what's going on with him, but he's just flying at the minute, and it's great to see. And you know, he's really showing his worth, and I love it. He's amazing. He had some brilliant overtakes. He was at one point P5, I think. But you know, he was obviously on a different strategy compared to everyone else, so obviously he had to pit a lot later, which kind of in the end put him back down into P8. But you know, he had a fantastic drive. He did some amazing overtakes, and yeah, he was just outstanding. And he was kind of the only driver providing a bit of excitement. Everyone else just kind of, it was just a bit bland the whole race. Like, it could have been so much better, but it just wasn't. And Pierre, I felt, was the only one providing entertainment. And you know, he's really shown his worth at the minute, and it's great to see, and I just hope he continues doing that, to be honest. And you know, he is obviously getting people's attention, which is great. So next up, next week we have Monza, which, you know, I think Ferrari are kind of happy the fans aren't there, because they would be probably getting eggs thrown at them. But you know, it's Monza. It's again a very high intense speed track, with a lot of straight line speed needed. So I think Ferrari once again are going to really struggle. Again, I think Mercedes are going to be the most dominant, but I think Renault, after seeing what we've seen today, can play a big part, which could be good. Hopefully they can be up there challenging the Red Bulls again, because I thought it was just really exciting seeing the Renault up there this weekend. Hopefully they can push a bit harder to really challenge maybe for that P3, because you know, we all want to see Cyril get his tattoo, which he has had a bet with Daniel Ricciardo. If he gets on the podium, he'll get a tattoo, so that will be exciting. I think once again, obviously Mercedes are just going to be most dominant, and I'm praying once again Valtteri can do something. That is my one wish. Like, Lewis is my guy, but I want Valtteri to challenge him. I want him to make it exciting. And you know, I shouldn't be doing that, because I obviously love Lewis. I want him to win, like, all the time. But you know, if we need to mix it up a bit, it's getting a bit boring just having Lewis out there on his own. We need a driver to push Lewis, because I think that's when Lewis works best as well, when we actually see him under pressure fighting. It's always a good battle. So that is why one pray to Valtteri to do, but he probably won't. But yeah, I'm going to leave that race review here. It was kind of short because not much really happened. So hopefully Monza can be a bit more exciting than Spa. But I will see you all in my next review. Thank you guys.